Hello, geometry students. Today's lesson is a little review on the triangle sum. Remember that the angles in a triangle add up to 180 degrees. So in the first unit, one way of solving this problem is we said 83 plus 48, and that was equal to 131 degrees. And then we subtracted from 180 to get our answer of 49 degrees. Another way students like to do this is to call this x, and the students could say x plus 83 plus 48 is 180. Combining these like terms, you get x plus 131 is 180. Subtract 131 from both sides, and you'll get x to be 49 degrees. In problem number 2, this is a multi-step problem. First, I'm going to look at the yellow triangle here, and we know that the angles in a triangle add up to 180. So to find this red angle, I'm going to add 40 and 70, and I'll get 110. Then I'm going to take 180 minus 110 degrees, and I'll get 70 degrees. So that angle is 70 degrees. The red and green angle are vertical angles, so that means the green angle is also 70 degrees. And now I'll look at the blue triangle, and again the angles in a triangle add up to 180. So 70 plus 73 is equal to 143. And then I'll subtract from 180 again, and I'll get 37 degrees. So the question mark is 37 degrees. If we look at problem number 3, this is a review from the unit 1, but we're also going to classify the triangle after we figure out the value of x and the 3 angles. So step 1 is all the angles add up to 180. So x plus 60 plus 7x plus 41 plus 9x minus 40 is equal to 180 degrees. When we combine these x's, we will get 17x. When we combine the numbers that I'm underlining in red, I'm using a calculator, I get plus 61, and that's equal to 180. Then we could subtract 61 from both sides. We'll get 17x is 119. And then we could divide by 17, and we'll get x to be 7. Now I'm going to substitute in for angle A. So angle A is 7 plus 60, which is 67 degrees. Angle B is 7 times 7 plus 60, which is equal to 90 degrees when I use my calculator. And angle C is 9 times 7 minus 40, and using my calculator I get 23 degrees. So to classify this triangle, because there's a 90-degree angle, this is a right triangle. If we look at problem number 4, we're going to do the same thing we did in problem number 3, but you'll notice that there is an x squared. So we're going to review our algebra skills from algebra 1. So again, the angles in a triangle add up to 180. So x squared plus x squared plus x squared plus 168 is equal to 180 degrees. So I'm adding the yellow angle, the green angle, and the pink angle. So all 3 angles add up to 180. Combining like terms, the x's add up to 3x squared. Then you can subtract 168 from both sides. you'll get 3x squared is equal to 12. Divide by 3. X squared is equal to 4. So x is equal to plus or minus the square root of 4. So x is plus or minus 2. And then I'm going to use my calculator and evaluate. So on the scientific calculator, since x is 2, I would say 2 squared and I'll get 4. The other angle B is also 4, and then to get angle C, I'm going to say 2 squared plus 168. And doing that, I get 172 degrees. So when I substitute back in, angle A is 4 degrees, angle B is 4 degrees, and angle C is 2 squared plus 168, which is 172 degrees. Therefore, this is an obtuse triangle. Since one angle is bigger than 90. If we look at problem number 5, we're going to apply the same concept. All the angles in a triangle add up to 180. So 3x squared minus 12 plus 4x squared plus 3 plus 2x squared plus 45 is 180. Combining like terms, adding the x's together, that's 9x squared. Adding the constants together, which I'm underlining in red here, add up to 36, and again I'm using my calculator, so that's equal to 180. I'll subtract 36 from both sides. I'll get 9x squared is 144. Divide by 9. X squared is equal to 16. So x is plus or minus the square root of 16. So x is plus or minus 4. And then I'm going to substitute 4 in for x. So angle A is 3 times 4 squared minus 12. So let me show you how to do that on your calculator. So on my calculator, I'm going to say 3 times, and I'm going to put it in parentheses, 4 squared minus 12. And when I do that, I get 36. So angle A is 36 degrees. Angle B is 4 times 4 squared plus 3. And angle C is 2 times 4 squared plus 45. And I'm going to show you how to do those on your calculator also. So for angle B, I'll say 4 times 4 squared plus 3. And you get 67. And then 2 times 4 squared plus 45. And you'll get 77. Notice I'm typing it in exactly the way I wrote it. So angle B was 67 degrees. Angle C was 77 degrees. All those angles are less than 90, so this is an acute triangle. So let's take a look at the last example. Again, the idea is all the angles add up to 180, so x squared plus 5x minus 6 plus negative 3x plus 151 is 180 degrees. So now we need to combine like terms. So when I add the x's, I get x squared plus 2x. And when I combine the constants here, I get plus 145, and that's equal to 180 degrees. In the warm-up, we talked about you have to subtract 180. Because there is a b term from last year, we need to set this equation equal to 0. So x squared plus 2x minus 35 is equal to 0. And then we discussed what two numbers multiply to negative 35 and add to 2 as the method of factoring. So I'm going to write that down. We need to find two numbers that multiply to negative 35, and then they need to add to a positive 2. So if we think about numbers that multiply to 35, 1 and 35, 5 and 7 are the multiples of 35. Since I want to add to 2, the 7 needs to be positive and the 5 needs to be negative. So we're going to use this pair of numbers that I'm highlighting in pink, and then we're going to factor. So this becomes x plus 7 times x minus 5 is equal to 0. We'll set each piece equal to 0. And then we need to solve each piece. So we're going to subtract 7 from both sides, and we'll get x to be negative 7. We'll add 5 to both sides, and we'll get x to be 5. Now there are two solutions to this problem, and now we need to plug in for A, B, and C. So one thing I want to make sure you're clear about is angles always must be positive. So if we look at angle B for a second, 5x take away 6. So angle B is 5x minus 6. If we were to plug in negative 7 for x, 5 times negative 7 minus 6, we're going to get negative 41. But angles cannot be negative, so angles must be positive. So the only answer for x that makes sense in this particular problem is x is 5. So now that I realize that the negative 7 does not work, angle A is 5 squared, which is 25. Angle B is 5 times 5 take away 6. Using my calculator, I'm going to get 19 degrees. And angle C is negative 3 times 5 plus 151, which is 136 degrees. Since there is an obtuse angle of 136, this is an obtuse triangle.